Welcome back to Society Case Files. My name is Robert, and today I'm going to talk about some audio dramas by Dark Adventure Radio Theater. If you like this kind of content and you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Otherwise, I'm going to dive right in. Dark Adventure Radio Theater has made some of my absolute favorite things over the past several years. I discovered them when they were probably 15 or 20 productions in, and I consumed them like a locust, and I have been a loyal fan ever since. They are the inspiration that got me into doing audio dramas myself. They made me feel empowered to try and make this happen, and they're great people. Like, their customer service is next to none. The producer of it is like answering my emails when I have problems. It's awesome. They're amazing. They've made a movie as well, The Whisperer in the Darkness. Freaking amazing. One of my favorite things ever. So when I sort of got super busy for a while, I did lose sort of touch with what they were up to. I came back and found several dramas that I hadn't even bought, let alone listened to, of course. So I picked them all up, and I've listened to them all, and I want to talk about a couple right now. I figure that I can break it up into sets of two because they're not super long, and I don't want to give away too much because they're so awesome. I don't want you to have like a dumbass spoiler. Let's just talk about two in particular. Now, before I get into that, I want to say that these are all based on H.P. Lovecraft stories for the most part. They are put on by the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society, and they're just incredibly well done. Now, that said, they did exhaust the biggest work, the stuff that everybody knows: Reanimator, The Case of Charles Dexter Ward, Mountains of Madness, Call of Cthulhu, The Dunwich Horror. All of that stuff is already done. So now we have moved into some new territory. In some cases, material written by different authors like August Derleth, that sort of thing, or even just completely made up by the people who run this stuff. Now, they're freaking fantastic. They really have their fingers on the pulse of how this works. And so even when they base their work on something historical, it still feels perfectly Lovecraftian. They've even taken some of the old Call of Cthulhu modules and adapted those into radio dramas, and they're freaking awesome. They're really long because they cover the whole thing, and it's exactly what you would expect from them. Super high quality, great production value, and honestly a little scary at sometimes. So I know maybe I'm a wuss, but whatever. But today we're going to discuss two of their brand new ones, and the first one we're going to go with is called The Iron Maiden. This is a Nate Ward adventure. It's one of the characters they've made up. He has appeared in several of the dramas throughout. He's even in the movie. And basically, he's this professor who goes to Scotland to get his way into an old ancestral estate to look around and check out some mosaics. And he finds out there's a wedding there. He gets invited along to go, and a whole bunch of shenanigans ensue. As far as a Lovecraft story goes, this one is just freaking chilling in a lot of ways. I thought they did a very good job. They bring up some ancient paganistic stuff, and there's these creepy statues and a very old family, and there's a lot of mystery involved. Several things that you have to sort of infer on your own as well. All around, I would highly recommend this one. It's probably one of my favorites. It lasts about an hour and 12 minutes. And I get it in chapters so that you can listen to it at your leisure, pause, or come back to it. It's a lot easier than having it as one file. And that breaks it out into 8 tracks. Now, that said, if you do have the capacity to just listen to it all the way through, and often I do, to be perfectly honest, it is better to have it all as one file because there's no breaks. But like when it hops from track 2 to 3, you'll hear a slight click. Or the sound will drop as it moves between. But they do a great job of having a nice transition between these tracks as well. So anyway, The Iron Maiden came out in 2024, so it's been a while. But, you know, as far as this stuff goes, it's not like it's going out of date. It sounds great. Now, that said, you might want to start with something earlier if this is your first Dark Adventure Radio Theater. If you go all the way back to the beginning, I do have to warn you that some of the production value at that point was a little bit less high quality than it is now. They did a great job still, but you could tell they were still starting out, and there are some things that like make it difficult to understand. A great example is the Mountain of Madness. Some of the radio stuff is really hard to make out, at least it was for me. And later on, they have a War of the Worlds style drama, and they do the radio much, much better, and suddenly it's much easier to understand. So they learned a lot, and they've done a great job. And I'm not saying that Mountains of Madness is bad as a result. It was just harder to understand that stuff. So if you do go back to the very, very beginning, just keep in mind that the stuff I'm talking about today is brand new, and these guys are now seasoned professionals that have overcome every technical challenge that they could ever possibly imagine. Their workflows must be just top-notch, just incredible stuff. So the second one I want to talk about is called The Temple. It takes place during the World War. There's a U-boat, and this British ship gets sunk, and one of the people aboard ends up with the Germans, and a whole lot of horrific shenanigans ensue. There's also a U.S. Navy boat looking for the U-boat. Theodore Roosevelt gets involved. It's a pretty stunning story all around. And I'm going to tell you that without giving away any sort of spoilers, but the ending actually did give me chills. And I thought it was very, very, very well done. So all around, another really good story. And just one that really got me to the point where I couldn't turn it off. Like, I was out here painting minis, listening to the drama, and I had finished what I was working on, and I just sat there and chilled out until it was done because it was just that engaging. So if you are interested in this kind of stuff, if you like to listen to stuff in the background while you're doing crafts or whatever, I'd really recommend looking into Dark Adventure Radio Theater. They're fantastic. They don't necessarily take a lot of time, and they're all standalone. They don't necessarily require you to have heard something else before you can get into one of the newer ones. So if a story sounds interesting to you, you could just grab that, and you don't have to worry about listening to 24 others. It's not sequential. Are you a fan of audio dramas? Do you like this kind of thing? If so, let me know which ones you prefer, and I'd love to check them out. I love finding new audio dramas. In fact, I'm going to include links to the ones that I have made in the description, as well as the links to both Dark Adventure and more specifically to the Iron Maiden and the Temple. They're both really, really fun, so I highly recommend them. The next time I do a review, I will talk about the other dramas that I just listened to because they're super fun as well. But that's it for now. Thank you very much. This is Robert with Society Case Files, signing off.